Every month, a website called Sensor Tower releases data on the profits for every single gacha game. A ton of people, including many creators, really like to follow all of this information. It ends up being called Gacha PvP, and a lot of people really take it seriously, but I don't. And I wanted to talk about why, and why you probably shouldn't either. So first of all, it's always kind of interesting. It's interesting to look at it once in a while. I like to look at it once in a while, not to really look at the numbers, but just to see how many gacha games there are and which ones are, on top of mind for a lot of people and which ones are popular. First of all, the thing that everyone knows is that it's obviously not fully reliable. There's no possible way for Sensor Tower to actually know exactly how much money is being made. First of all, it's based on iOS revenue alone, but there's no actual data that Apple releases about how much people spend. Like, you can look at the top most profitable apps, so I imagine they're doing something like that, but there's no way to get exact, accurate data. People say that it's useful for looking at trends. It's unclear to me exactly how reliable it could even be for trends if we don't really understand how they get their data in the first place. But you know what? Let's give it the benefit of the doubt and let's say, yeah, it is pretty reliable. Maybe not fully reliable, but at least the trends are relatively accurate and there's some useful information. So even still, personally, I'm not super interested in looking at how all of these companies and games stack up against each other. And I know some people, they get a sense of either dread or pride, and I just don't think that these are healthy responses to this kind of information. So generally speaking, just so you guys all know, Honkai Star Rail is number one. Generally, like, if you look at the last, even though I don't follow it, I still follow Gacha news, so it's still all over the place. Even if I don't want to follow it, I know about it. And Honkai Star Rail is mostly number one, with Genshin Impact here and there taking number one, and recently Love and Deep Space, a sort of husbando gacha game, has also been really high up there. Very interesting, very interesting. Zenless Zone Zero started off quite high and has dropped off pretty hard. Wuthering Waves started off not quite as high and has also dropped off. Other games that I know about, Reverse 1999, Up and Down, Snowbreak Containment Zone, Fire Emblem Heroes, Honkai Impact 3rd, Hoyoverse's other game, AFK Arena. Was AFK Journey on here somewhere? Is AFK Arena higher than AFK Journey? I've heard of Cookie Run Kingdom. I've heard of Pokemon Masters CX. No, Tower of Fantasy way down there. I must have just missed AFK Journey. Anyways, I guess people, what do people want? What is people's motivation for this? They just want to feel like the game that they play is the most popular. This is kind of like a popularity contest, like school, like kids on the playground. They want to be part of the popular group and they're arguing that their group is better. Is it kind of like a sports team where you feel more invested with a certain sports team because you like the players, or you're part of the city that they're in, or just for whatever reason you feel attached to that sports team, so you care about how they do. I watch hockey, I follow sports to a degree, but I feel like just following, like actually caring about how the revenue for a gacha game, actually caring about that and like, oh yeah, Genshin Impact beat Honkai Star Rail, or screw Genshin Impact, or yeah, Wuthering Waves doing so much worse. It's like, why do you care about this? This is like the profits that a multi-billion-dollar company is making. Like, if you have an iPhone, do you like cheer when Apple stock goes up? I understand if you own Apple stock, but you can't even own Hoyoverse stock. I would have bought Hoyoverse stock, by the way, if I could, but they're a private company. And they're in China, so I don't even know if I could have anyways. But like, I guess maybe people feel like, so those make some amount of sense. I'm sure there's some people that fall into one of those camps. The next thing I can think of is maybe people feel like that their game will be treated better if the revenue is higher. Like, they feel like they're going to get more stuff, more updates. That's the next reason I can think of. And we know this is just not true. Often games that are lower down will actually give more rewards, more incentives to play the game, right? When a game does poorly, they often give away rewards. There's AFK Journey. It's really high. Good for them. to keep people playing, and they'll often give more free stuff. Whereas if a game is on top, like Genshin Impact, they'll often not give that much free stuff. And we know this is true, especially for Hoyoverse games, because when Genshin Impact was on top, it's not like they had more endgame content that they had. It's not like they released better regions when they were making more money. No, they've released better and better regions with more and more development time and more knowledge and probably more overall profit. As long, I feel like it's a threshold, right? Like if you have a graph, as long as it hits some certain undefined point of profit, they're going to keep pouring money into the game. And so as long as your game is not end of service, then you're fine. So you should just, like, if that was the motivation, like wanting more content for your game, content isn't even tied to profit. They just pocket this profit. They don't, like, the people that run these companies are the investors and the owners and these different things. And they are not looking at like, oh, if we make X amount of profit, we're going to add extra content. They're not considering that. The developers that they have can only make so much content. And sure, over a long period of time, maybe more profit, they can hire a larger development team, but more likely they're just going to start other projects. They're not, that this money isn't going into Genshin Impact. It's not going back into Honkai Star Rail. Maybe the first 10 million is, like, of that amount of, but everything after that is going into pockets. It's going into future developments. It's going into investments. It's going into land. It's going into whatever billionaires put their money into. It's not going back into the game past some certain undefined point. So if you're looking at this like, oh, I just hope they don't go end of service, well, gacha games are pretty profitable, and this is frankly an absurd amount of money to make in a month. Even Honkai Impact 3rd, frankly, $2.8 million on iOS revenue alone is just frankly absurd. And they're easily making enough money to keep the game going and to keep whatever content pace that they're having. I also don't even like this mindset. I just want to throw this out there. People who play gacha games for rewards, for being treated nicely, for being respected as players. I know we talked about this before, but I just think I just want to get this out here right now while we don't have drama going on. It's such a wrong mindset, in my opinion, like an unhealthy for you mindset. Not objectively morally wrong, but wrong in terms of orienting yourself to being a happy and fulfilled human being. Why would you play a game for rewards? I guess if it's like a collection thing to you and you just like to collect the characters, and you're just, if that's like, and not even the characters, because if you specifically play a game for rewards, it doesn't even matter. It's like you don't even care about what the game itself is actually offering. Like you don't care about the game's specific designs or the game's specific characters or specific mechanics. You're just playing it. Like, why wouldn't you just pick the game that gives away the most stuff? And you can just, like, I don't understand this mindset of, oh, such and such game gives away more premium currency, or such and such game gives away more characters. I guess, yeah, if you just want to collect some character, then great, and you don't even care what the character is or who they are, and that's what it's all about for you. But I see a lot of people like, oh, I like to play this game because they're more generous, they give away more. It's like, these are not people. They don't have the capacity to be generous. They are corporate entities that exist for the purpose of profit. There are developers on there that have a passion, and that passion can be shown through the story, through the characters, through the art. And I think all of these top games have developers that have a ton of passion, whether it be Wuthering Waves, Zenless Zone Zero, Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, even Love and Deep Space. These are developers that have a vision and have a passion, and it connects with the audience, and there's a reason why it connects with the audience. There's a reason why people like it, and it's because there are real people telling real, whether they're stories or designing characters, it resonates with people. And that is real. That is a real thing. But to be respected by a company is not, a company is not able to give respect. You can get respect from an individual, but not from a company. A company doesn't have the capacity to be generous. It's all a profit maximizing calculation, especially when a company gets this big. Yeah, if your uncle owns a shoe shop and he's very generous, that you could maybe call that company generous because it's his company, etc. But once you start, especially being a publicly traded company, meaning it's owned by shareholders, their only incentive is to make a profit. So they may feign generosity, they may make you feel like they're being generous, and that incentivizes you to make more purchases and things like that, but it's not actually generosity. It's not actually respect. So to be able to separate that in your mind, individuals and how individuals can treat you versus corporations and how corporations can treat you, corporations can't really treat you in any way, especially if you're not employed by them. If you're employed by them, then it's a different thing about being respected. The final thing is, I should have talked about this earlier, but a lot of people will look at games like Zenless Zone Zero or Wuthering Waves and talk about how they are primarily PC or console games, as opposed to Genshin Impact, Honkai Star, which are more optimized for mobile. And this is iOS revenue, so obviously it's heavily skewed towards mobile. So probably on balance, Wuthering Waves and Zenless Zone Zero are doing better than they are here, because they're basically not as much as Zenless Zone Zero, but especially Wuthering Waves is very difficult to play on mobile and have a good time. So probably the revenue is higher. And once again, I think this is pretty fair, honestly. Even games like Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail, I think a lot of people do play them on PC. Probably not as great of a disparity as Wuthering Waves and Zenless Zone Zero. Yeah, so all of those games are probably going to be doing better than, I would guess, Love and Deep Space, Puzzle and Dragons, Fate Grand Order, AFK Journey. These are probably, more 95% mobile instead of 70% mobile or something like that. I don't know what the stats are. And at the end of the day, it's unreliable. It doesn't really matter. And it's mostly, the way people think about it is mostly unhealthy, in my opinion. And maybe I'm missing something. Maybe there's a reason other than the ones that I've speculated here that make it useful to look at these things. I mean, I guess, you know what? Here's the one. It's fun. It's interesting. If you like drama, you like to grab your popcorn and go look at the comments. What are people saying? Anyways, let's take a look. You guys can fight each other. I'm just enjoying the downfall of Solo Leveling Arise. I think a lot of people are here for the downfall of some other game. AFK Journey continues its descent. ZZZ has a pretty steep revenue drop. Otherwise, everything feels like it's where it's meant to be. Star Rail is both Link Shed and Wrap. But yeah, that's the other thing, is the revenue is based on that month, which could include 2 characters, could include 3 characters, could include, whatever. There's like some banners do really well and some banners don't. And depending on where the banner is placed, you may have a really good month or a really bad month if the banners were either right on or right before or right in between the month, because they don't line up to months usually. So a lot of people taking the numbers seriously. I don't know. I don't really want to go through too many comments, but that's what I think. I wanted to make this video at least once. I know it's kind of funny because I say I don't make videos. I appreciate the irony. I say I don't make videos about this topic as I'm making a video about this topic, but I just wanted to make it one time why I don't make a monthly video on the revenue. It's for all the reasons I said. It's not reliable and it's not healthy and it's not useful. And I don't find it that interesting because it's in particular because it's not that reliable. So let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you care about this. Take care. Bye for now.